My name's Louise Batty and I'm the Managing Director of Keep the Dream196. Keep the Dream196 is a non-profit organisation. We're a non-government organisation. In terms of what are we, what we do, we're a children's rights-based organisation, we're a Lifeskills organisation, and we do a variety of different things, usually directed by the children. I came to South Africa in 2002 and I was employed by the Department of Health and seconded to a local NGO. During my time there, we did a strength, weakness, opportunity and threat analysis with the home-based care volunteers, asking them what's their biggest heartache. What they came up with was actually watching the orphan and the vulnerable children in their communities drop out of school, get involved with gangs, start smoking, start drinking, getting pregnant and getting infected with HIV. And I got tasked with do something. So I did a series of small research looking at what was happening locally within the villages, within Greater Tzaneen, within Mopani, the district, within Limpopo, South Africa, and then Africa, just to see what was already there, but also looking at what would work in our context. I also did a focus group with 13 children and asked them, if we did something, what would you like it to look like? And their first comments were, we want to learn new things. We want to experience new things. We want new ideas. We want a broader horizon than what we've got, and we want it fun. So with that in mind, I looked at what was available, what could be translocated here, and I had a background in Girl Guides back in Australia, so when I came here, the Scouts movement seemed to fit the bill because that was boys and girls, but also we could build it in at community level and village level using volunteers. We did that in 2003 and we started with 13 girls. From there, by May 2004, we had 60 kids and it was working, and we trained 50 leaders, and by the end of 2004 we had a massive blowout to 1,100 kids. Unfortunately, it wasn't supported by the NGO that I was working for at that time, and my colleague and I, Elizabeth Mabuza, we worked on weekends, after hours, public holidays, any gap of time we could get to try and support this thing.
My name is Elizabeth Mabuza, co-founder of Keep the Dream196 and program manager. I make sure that when we've got the funding and we've got the activities all planned, I make sure that the implementation plan takes place. I will go looking for the places where we're going to be doing training, negotiate with the village indunas, negotiate with the parents, negotiate with the people who will be helping with all the implementation plan. And I will also focus on the reporting process, which is the monitoring and evaluation of all the programs which we have. It's very rewarding for me. Like, depending on the training that we're doing with the kids or the parents, it's like an eye-opener because they realize that we were doing things which we're not aware of. At the end of the day, I'm very happy because I know I've made a difference and I know that the parents are very happy.
We started Keep the Dream196 at the beginning of the global financial crisis, so we haven't really known an environment that's been really wealthy. And that has caused us to make a lot of, I think, really wise decisions in the beginning because we kept our overheads very low. Our financing mainly comes from overseas. We have a great deal of difficulty attracting funding from CSI, corporate social investors in South Africa, and also from government. But overseas donors, particularly Kindernoth-Hilfe, has been good to us. We've attracted funding from the US and also from Australia and Save the Children Sweden as well. So these larger organisations can see the potential of Keep the Dream and what it is that we're doing, but because we're so different, a lot of donors are only interested in donating 1 year at a time, whereas our program takes children from the age of 5 through to 26 if they want to, but our core project is 5 to 18. Unfortunately, a lot of donors haven't caught up with that it's not just going in and putting in a proposal to do 10 trainings for 20 people and then just walking away. We follow up that training. We keep the people engaged and involved. When I say people, I mean we work with indunas, we work with parents, and we work with children. So we're wanting to keep those people engaged and to actually implement the training that we've given them so that we do have long-term impact. We've got a track record now of 12 years. So we can show the impact, we can show the growth, we can show the changes. And because we have stories from the children themselves, as they grow up in the program, we can show the impact of the program overall. The donor environment can be very challenging when your program is longitudinal and they function short term. Our source of income is very limited as well, and the donor environment is the core of our financial business.
I've been part of Keep the Dream for 8 years. I've seen the impact that Keep the Dream had within our local communities. The community I'm from is the most vulnerable to poverty. Keep the Dream improved a lot of families and helped a lot of kids to raise them responsibly. It helped the children to stop going to nightclubs and stealing, fighting, being bullies, and encouraged a lot to go to school. And I'm one of those. To go to tertiary, I'm one of those. To complete and to be able to market and to work and being responsible South African citizens. Looking at the fact that I grew up in a community whereby youngsters are not motivated to go to school and pursue their studies, I would have dropped out. I wouldn't have went to university and did a degree in computer science. Peer pressure will have affected me a lot, but because of Keep the Dream, I have positive self-esteem. Keep the Dream taught me that to be successful in future, you have to be responsible, no matter where you are. For each and every opportunity that you get, you must make use of it. You must make yourself useful. So if it happens that I'm somewhere and I get an opportunity, I'm gonna grasp that and make something out of it.
What the children are doing today is creating an action plan. They're identified where their troop is in terms of performance and where they want to be in 12 months' time. And then according to the key indicators, they will be setting up an action plan. This is all project management stuff. And some of these kids are as young as 12. Go up to 18, but they're learning project management plans. They're learning to assess, they're learning to evaluate, they're learning to monitor, they're learning to create their own solutions to their problems, and then they're learning to implement it and evaluate it. What we've also had to do in this economic times is diversify our funding base. And by that, what I mean is we're also looking for small donors, small individual people. That covers an enormous amount of services that we can provide. But by receiving and having a diversified funding base where we can actually also potentially put some money aside for those contingencies, it allows us to be more sustainable long term. What we also chose to do at the beginning of 2007 when we started Keep the Dream was to make sure our overheads were low. So we received a lot of donations, infrastructure like desks and chairs and filing cabinets and those sorts of things. Also, we don't have an office space, we use my home. And by using my home, the organisation doesn't pay rent, water, electricity. So we're able to use that money that we have saved and plug it into the services that we provide for the kids. Before I left the other NGO, we'd had inquiries from Save the Children Sweden who could see the potential for this program, could see the long-term impact, and they wanted to get involved. So despite not having the normal requirements in place, for example, we didn't have a name, a constitution, a board, a bank account, we didn't have any of that in place, that they still chose to invest in us, and it gave us the breathing space that we needed to be able to get a board together, get a name, get a constitution, get a bank account, get policies and procedures in place. So their seed money actually was a huge gift to us to be able to set up. I also had some money that I had saved from Australia when I sold my house. So I was able to also invest that until we got another donor, which was Oxfam Australia. And from there, we have just grown and grown and grown. I came to this country as a qualified nurse, and coming to South Africa, I'd got no business background. I was also learning the culture and trying to understand about the dynamics between Afrikaans, English, black, coloured, Indian, trying to understand the history of the area. To me, it started to mean that the impact of the past was that a lot of these people were illiterate. A lot of the people had very minimalistic views of life. It was living from day to day. So trying to understand those sorts of things, it was a huge learning curve. Just trying to get people to fill out a basic form with name and ID number. You had to have it in a certain format, otherwise they struggled. You had to use certain words, otherwise they weren't sure what you meant. So there was a lot of things that I had to learn, especially as a foreigner coming here. It was all a learning curve, having to change and adjust and adapt. So not only was it business and government regulations and what was required in setting up an NGO, and fortunately I've got a lot of systems theory background through nursing, so I could put systems in place, but there were huge gaps. But in business what I found is, yes, you need to be a jack of all trades, but you need to be a master of most of them, and if you're not, you need to find people who will work with you cooperatively and not in competition. So my staff, we work together as a team. We have Sutu and Shangaan speakers as well as English speakers, because that covers that gap for me. We also have a teacher, a social worker and a nurse, so we are getting a lot of different gaps filled. And you develop trust with these people over time, and that's essential as well.
I joined Keep the Dream because I've realized that the activities and the job that Keep the Dream is doing, it's helped so many children. Some of the kids were dropping out from school, and some of the kids were not supported by their parents. Keep the Dream's programs are very good for young people. They teach children on the rights and the responsibility. I do have my own kids, and most of the time my parents were responsible for my kids. But after joining Keep the Dream, I've realized that I have to make relationship with my kids first before I go out and have good relationship with other kids. So even personally, Keep the Dream helped me a lot.
I think Keep the Dream is different because we're working with the children in a holistic way, and in that I mean we're looking at the child from physical, emotional, social, intellectual, and then we go on looking at the parents, looking at the caregivers, looking at the community leadership to help us to build the child. The programs that we do, it's more life skills, and in life skills I mean like we do first aid with the kids, as I'm a trained St. John first aid trainer, and I train the children in first aid and helps them to help in their communities, because there's a lot of emergencies which would happen and people don't know what to do. We're trying to help the children to give back to their communities, and that's what Keep the Dream is all about, giving back. Keep the Dream is more than an organization which is working with children. It's helping us as adults also. The staff, we're gaining a lot because you tend to find out who you are while you're working with the children, but also help ourselves and our families at the same time. Looking at my daughter, Nkululeko, is now a social worker working for Keep the Dream. I think having been in the program has really helped her, shaped her, and helped her to become what she is today.
My name is Nkululeko Mabuza. I'm the program manager at Keep the Dream 196. I became part of Keep the Dream in 2003. I was the first one with the first 13 kids to try the program, and I'm still with the program. It kept me busy, it kept me off the streets, and I made new friends, and I saw the positive impact it had on me. Like, I could see that I'm starting to become a well-behaved girl in school and at home. I saw how it helped me during high school, how I was well behaved and how I did well at school, and I wanted to help other kids. That's why I chose to be a social worker. It influenced my career. I saw how I was groomed up, and I wanted other kids to be like me, to grow up and say, yes, I'm a responsible adult and I'm doing this with my life. I went to school, I'm working now, and I'm independent. So it grew me to be a very responsible young lady. I came back to help children because I believe that they're the future of the country. So if there's no one helping them, who will? And I wanted them to see a brighter future for themselves. I want them to sit and say, yes, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. You're not stuck in the small community that you're in, but there are other opportunities.
We might be coming from a background where things are hard, difficult, and we may not make it, but it is possible. And that's what we're trying to get the children to a place where they can see it is possible, we can make it.
So our challenges are varied, from personal challenges including having to apply to Home Affairs for work permits, having application for permanent residency lost in the system, to organisational challenges which include things like funding, corporate social investment funding, government funding. We just have problems accessing. We have a lot of challenges regarding concept of Keep the Dream, what it is that we actually do.
I've been in this program for 5 years now. Before I joined the Scout, I was a naughty boy. After I was introduced to Scout in 2009, that's when my life changed for the better, because I already lost 2 years at school because I dropped out. After they introduced me in Scout, they taught me many things from 2009 up till now. Now I'm a rover now. From the beginning, 2009, I was taken to camp at Westphalia, at Ferridland, where I was taught how to work as a group, how to respect, how to deal with conflict. I was given an opportunity to teach. That's where I found out that I was good. People liked me, I loved them, I loved the scouting. You know, it's in my heart now. If it wasn't for Keep the Dream, I would probably be involved in criminal activities. I would probably be locked in jail by now. But now I have a dream because of Keep the Dream. I want to be a social worker because I want to help other people.
I am a systems person, so I am able to conceptualise what's required. And in doing that, we keep a bare minimum in regards to what information we need, what information we collect, how we store it, things like that. We're also a very small organisation. We only had 2 full-time staff until 2 years ago, when one of our rovers actually came back from having graduated in social work and has now joined us. So we're 3 full-time staff, we're 5 part-time staff. And because we're small, we can remain very informal with information. We don't have big communication hiccups because we are small. To keep the overheads low, we work in a very small environment. We've learnt to trust each other. We've learnt to have each other's backs. So from that side of it, we're able to function effectively. My leadership style is very different. You do have the triangular hierarchy, but oftentimes, for me, the triangle is on its side and I'm leading people forward. We're a team. Let's work together. Tell me what will work and what won't work. So I need to hear from my experts, the people on the ground, exactly what's happening. And we do that not just with the staff. We do that with the parents, we do that with the indunas that we work with, and we do that with the children. And the impact shows that what we're doing is working very, very well. Keep the Dream 196 was founded on passion. And passion and more passion. But obviously, no matter how much passion you've got, you need to have the basic building blocks. And finances are an integral part of that. If you have other people's finances, that is a heavy load in terms of accountability, because you need to make sure that those finances are recorded, reported and acted on precisely as the donor has required. I have a treasurer on the board who goes through things with a fine-tooth comb. I have a bookkeeper who is a subcontracted position. So I work directly with the bookkeeper, with the treasurer. We have monthly, sometimes fortnightly, financial meetings to make sure that we're accounting correctly for the monies that we're given. The executive team, we sit together, we work on a budget so that we know exactly how much things cost. That gets formulated into a proposal. We work at scheduling, planning, spending, making sure that we've got the cash flow from month to month. And we do our finances every day so that nothing slips through the cracks. Our financial policies ensure that at least 2 people are involved in signing before monies are loaded on computer, before they are released, and it's all done by different people. And it's a safety thing, because although I know I can be trusted, I may not be here, something may happen. And the next person needs to have the policies in place and the rules in place so that they know exactly what the ropes are, and that the board can be confident that direct access to money is very, very limited. So we have those things in place as safeguards so that donors, big or small, can have confidence in our practice and what it is that we do. So we want to make sure that donors can have confidence in our financial management. Our marketing tools for Keep the Dream are very varied. We use social media, but that's fairly limited. A lot of our kids get onto that, which is great, but in terms of extending that further is very difficult. I have a newsletter that goes out, and that predominantly goes to kids and the parents, but also it goes electronically around the world to contacts that I've made. We have a website, www.keepthedream196.com, and on there people can donate directly. That's an information service as well, and people can subscribe to the newsletter. We have a combi with logos, we have t-shirts, we do that sort of promotion as well. Through Fatola, who is a mentoring organisation, they have also been able to put us into the Sorbona, which is the SAA flight magazine. But our biggest transfer of information about Keep the Dream is word of mouth in the communities by the children themselves.
In 2011, I was starting by volunteering at First Sudan before I have my own troop. So I was going every time when they attend meeting to see what is happening and what is going on. I come back to my place and invite some kids to come to start my group. I used to call Zabe, I used to call Luis, just help me. I was stuck. They helped me telephonically, sometimes met them at the meeting. They always have meetings with me so that to encourage me in order to run my troops. Before I joined Keep the Dream, my life was difficult and I was rude to everyone. Keep the Dream helped me to build my life, my future, and give me knowledge. So I want to thank Keep the Dream. You have made me to be a good mother, good parent, everything.
I would like to say, keep the dream go bigger, to expand in other provinces, to help other children. And I would like to see us have our own big NGO where we're saying, okay, now we even have a place of safety for children who can't. We even have after-school programs every day, helping them with their homeworks.
My future goals is to see Keep the Dream being run by the children themselves, the children who started the program with, and them taking over and taking to the next level.
Our future plans for Keep the Dream 196 is to spread further and wider. It would be brilliant to find other CBOs with a passion and a heart that we can help support to run a program similar to ours. We also want to purchase our own farm so that we can become more independent of donor funding. I think whenever anyone's contemplating a new adventure, fear is huge. But if you can change fear and have courage in the face of fear, that is a huge, huge step forward. It won't be easy, it will be tough, as long as you understand that. Having passion is part of the equation, but you really need the skills as well. You need business skills, which when I came here, I didn't have. However, they're learnt skills. You can learn them. It's not always about passion, but it is about how you sustain yourself and your organisation through the good times and the bad times. Keep the money in the bank to ensure your sustainability. Store that money, get a nest egg together, have at least 6 months worth of backup money for those times. And I think that will really help you go forward.